And that is definitely our approach in selling is before I try to sell Chad anything, right? It doesn't matter if you walk into my store, you walk into my office, whatever. Before I believe I have even permission to sell you anything, I need to figure out what you want, what you need, what's going on. Like, why are you here? Why are you inquiring about my services? What's going on in your world? What's going on in your life? After you buy my product, what's going to change? What are you going to do with it? After you do that, what's going to happen next?
Came up from the bottom to the top. And the young is gonna never stop. And he always punching in the clock.
And once I started working at Intel, after I kind of had this idea, I'm going to work here for 7 years because after I'm just not an employee kind of person. I'm not employable. So the grand scheme was to find a wife that had benefits. So I can marry her for her benefits and go start my own business. Mm-hmm. And along the way, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, like a lot of other people in real estate have. And I realized that this W-2 thing is not for me. Like, there's a freedom number. If you can have your passive income exceed your monthly expenses, you'll never have to work again. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. And that was beyond appealing for me. So I got into real estate, started buying rental properties. And thank God, this is back in 2006, 2007. Thank God we had our loans declined because our whole financial infrastructure was falling apart. So thank God all our loans got declined. Otherwise, who knows how bad my credit would have gotten. Mm-hmm. But along the way, I met a real estate broker who I saw was very financially successful. So I'm this engineer with a master's degree, and I see how much realtors make. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. And, for better or for worse, I don't look at realtors as the intelligent community. So I was just thinking, okay, I can outwork these guys. I'm smarter than them. I should do well in real estate. And I did not. The 2007 through 2011 kicked my butt and taught me a lot of humility. But on the way, I did learn about buying houses. And in buying houses, kind of where I started getting financial success. And, started a brokerage, started a title company, started an app. We have about 100 agents at our brokerage. We have a 1% market share in Phoenix, which is something I'm really proud of. Started the podcast, and I'm still the same human being as when I started the podcast in 2018. I'm just I'm just that person now with notoriety. People know who I am. So I'm able to walk into more rooms and open more doors. Even though I'm the same exact human being, it's really weird how that works. So I always encourage people to start a podcast because it gives you disproportionate authority. But, I parlay that into sales training because we're buying houses in the most competitive market in the country, in the world, I suppose, Phoenix, Arizona. And thankfully, the people I started talking about, our processes, our sales process for buying houses, it was interesting to more people. So we actually have about 100 clients out the country now that I train them and their whole team, the sales process for buying more houses. So that's the long version of my story.
Kind of very similar, very, very passionate about real estate. Who was the person that inspired you to start your journey?
I mean, it was Kiyosaki. I mean, he was the one that, opened my eyes. And once they kind of use that analogy in The Matrix, right? Red pilled, right? Mm-hmm. Like once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like once you realize you don't actually have to have a boss, it's really hard. Already a non-rule follower. Now I know I don't actually need a boss to get by in this world. Mm-hmm. I literally quit my job. I met the real estate broker. I met him, had dinner with him. It's like, what would need to happen for me to learn from you? He's like, you go get your real estate license. I'll teach you everything I know. I got my real estate license in 2.5 weeks and submitted my 2 weeks notice. Like that's how fast I was ready to not have a boss. Right. Wow. So, but yeah, I would say Kiyosaki was a big piece. And, my parents, they try to talk me out of it because again, the whole thing was like, you can be anything you want as long as it's doctor, dentist, or lawyer. Right. Mm-hmm. This whole thing about you have to get good grades, have a good job to, work all these years. And as we were having these conversations, I started asking where did this come from? Right. Challenging authority. where did this come from? Because you guys didn't go to college. My mom didn't even graduate high school. My fault, right? Because she had me when she was too young. But like you guys didn't even graduate high school. So my dad has an associate's degree. My mom, I don't think even got a GED. It's like, where did this idea come from where we need to get good grades so we can get a good job? Because it's not from you guys. And it's this thing that you learn from the community, right? From your peers, your network. And so then I asked, well, you told me that grandpa on both sides were businessmen, right? Like on my mom's side, my grandfather was dealing in scrap metal, in a way, wholesaling scrap metal, right? He would buy from one area and sell it to another. And then my grandparents on my dad's side were jewelers. So neither of them went to college. Neither of them had bosses. They were merchants. So I was like, if anything, I should do this because that's actually in our blood versus this going to college thing and getting a good job. Yeah.
What would you say? Because I mean, obviously, we're all here part of Mike Barron's Closure Academy, or have been in the past, all focused on learning sales and stuff like that. Now, I know real estate's, you could classify it a very high ticket, very high ticket, depending on your thing. What would you think would be the difference between conventional sales to real estate sales?
Conventional what?
Say sales like selling a product or a service.
Okay, so I would argue not that much difference. So there's a couple of nuances, but for the most part, if you look at sales, my understanding is it's based off of Greek etymology, which is the origin of sales is to serve, right? So to sell someone is to serve them. And that is definitely our approach in selling, is before I try to sell Chad anything, right? It doesn't matter if you walk into my store, you walk into my office, whatever. Before I believe I have even permission to sell you anything, I need to figure out what you want, what you need, what's going on. Like, why are you here? Why are you inquiring about my services? What's going on in your world? What's going on in your life? After you buy my product, what's going to change? What are you going to do with it? After you do that, what's going to happen next? I think that, the example I like to use is the drill, right? Is you walk into Home Depot or Lowe's, that's what we have in America. You walk into Home Depot or Lowe's, it's like, hey, I need a drill. It's like, oh, here, check out this drill. It's got this many horsepower. It's got the bits and this and that. It's cordless. You can drill for 4 hours. You won't have to recharge, right? All features, right? That's all they're selling. That's like the very first level of sales. And then you get advanced, you start selling benefits. Well, because of the way the battery we use, you don't have to take as much time between charges, right? We can charge it faster. You don't need a key bit to remove the drill bits, right? We start talking about benefits. But why did the guy walk into Home Depot or Lowe's? Because he wanted to drill something, because he wants to do something with it, right? So I'm going to ask you, well, Chad, what are you buying this drill for? And I say, well, I'm, trying to drill some holes. Okay, for what purpose? Building a tree house. Oh, you're building a tree house. Okay, tell me more about that tree house. Right? It's like, I want to create some memories with my kids. We're going to have some camp nights, whatever. Okay, so this is really important that you get the right drill to do this, right? Now I understand what you want and why you want it. Now I can figure out which drill will help you serve that purpose. Maybe you don't need this really expensive drill. Maybe you need a simple drill. Maybe you have an outlet right next to the tree, you can build a tree house. Maybe you don't need a cordless drill at all. I don't know your situation, but until I understand your situation, now I can sell you. Now I've earned the privilege to sell you a product that fits what you need.
What were some of the ones that you faced in the beginning and compared to the ones that you face now, just to give the guys a bit of an idea?
Yeah, so my challenges in the beginning were huge. So you guys heard me say I was an engineer. And we tend to sell, our default selling style is our default buying style. So for me, as an engineering type person, give me all the data, I'll figure it out. I'll make the decision for myself, right? Give me all the information. I will read it. I will digest it. I will make the best decision for me. That is not a normal buying behavior. So what was I doing? I would go out and educate the world out of Chad. Chad, by the way, when you buy this, you get this and this and this and this. and this warranty, and like there's all this stuff, right? Like I might as well just handed you the owner's manual.
Mm-hmm.
Completely pointless and a horrible selling process. So it took a long time to undo all of that to actually learn how to sell properly. So the first few years is like, you come to my office, like chat, you tell me, Steve, I'm looking to buy a 3-bedroom house, 2-bath for under 100,000 in this area. I would show you all the houses that were 3 bedrooms, 2 baths in that area for under 100,000. All right, Chad, we looked at all of them. Which one do you want? And that's not how people buy, right? But that's how I would buy, right? So because that's how I would buy, I would sell that way, and that was a disaster. So I had to relearn how to sell properly. So that was the first thing. Challenges recently. I don't think we really have as many challenges recently, and this might sound terrible or arrogant, but I have multiple businesses and I have all the right people in the right seats. I guess if there's anything, the greatest challenge is selling people to work with us. If we're talking about sales challenges, selling people why they should work with us versus anywhere else. And it's still really more of a marketing thing than a selling thing, because once they know about us, they do want to move over. So it's really more of a marketing challenge, and getting people to want to work with us. It's probably our biggest challenge at the moment, because we got the brokerage, the title, the app, our education side, and our buying houses side. We have multiple companies, so trying to market to find the people to work for us, that's probably the greatest challenge.
I know there'll probably be some people on the call that will probably have questions for you of their own anyhow. Like I said, most of these guys are learning sales in some shape or form. They've probably had no experience beforehand. Some probably have. What would you suggest, or what would you recommend? In fact, no, I'll rephrase that. Why did you go to real estate instead of going to some other form of sales? What was the trigger point? What was interesting?
Well, I'll tell you, I got into real estate because the barrier to entry is really low. And again, I may sound really confident now, overly confident, borderline arrogant, but this is like the humblest version of me. I used to be way cockier and way more arrogant, right? So when I got into real estate, I literally looked at it as like, these people are not that smart and I can outwork them. So when I got into real estate, it has the lowest barrier to entry, right? To get a real estate license in Arizona, you need to take 90 hours of real estate education. You need to be at least 18 years old. You need to have never committed a felony. And you need to be able to pass a test. Those are 4 qualifications to become a licensed realtor in the state of Arizona. Like, it takes 2,000 hours to become a beautician. To be allowed to cut someone's hair, you need 2,000 hours of apprenticeship. To help someone in their most important decision in their lives is 90 hours, right? To go get a stage 6 or series 6, series 7 certification for the stocks, lots of education, right? To become a pharmacist, getting pharmaceuticals, there's all this other education. Literally, I got into real estate because it was the lowest barrier to entry, easiest for me to transition from working as an engineer into a whole nother career. So maybe not the best answer, but it was really just motivated by how easy it was to get into it.
Yeah. And look, obviously they're understandable. People are going to want to try and find the easiest route if possible. They obviously don't want to take the challenging route because, that becomes a bit disheartening. So,
yeah.
So Steve, about your journey growing up, what changed in your mentality, your thought process versus, from young kid to when you were going through school and listening to what your parents were telling you to actually going out in the world? Like what changed in your mentality?
A lot of what my parents said were right. They were right about a lot of things. And so I'm kind of the person where I challenge authority, but if once I challenge it, what you say makes sense, then I'm bought in, right? So I am not manageable if you're trying to get me to do something I don't believe in. But if I believe in it, then I'm all in, right? If you're telling me we go do this, this, and this, we'll have this kind of success or we'll make this kind of progress. All right, let's go. But if you say, because I'm always thinking critically, hey, we do this, this, and this will happen, and I don't agree with it, then you're gonna be dragging me, right? Ticking and screaming. And then this goes back to the point where I'm not really that employable. So we had this thing at Intel. We had 6 core values, and one of them was disagree and commit, which was, hey, if Jelani and I sit down and you're my supervisor, it's like, Steve, how do you think we should do this? Here's how I think we should do this. And we disagree, but you're like, all right, Steve, here's how we're going to do it, right? And you push me like, this is how we're going to do it. I said, okay, great. I would still go do it my way too. So I would do it your way and I would do it my way. And then once we delivered it, you would see actually my way was better, right? However, that was not an Intel core value. Intel core value was do it what my boss said to do it, and that's it. I couldn't do it. So I would say that's probably what changed, was that for most of my life, everything that all the demands, the requirements, they made sense. So I went along with it. But the moment it stopped making sense, I challenged authority. I challenged the status quo.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I've got that kind of personality myself.
Yeah, I think a lot of us do. And I think the ones that tend to, what's the word I'm looking for, disrupt things, are the ones that are louder about it. So yeah, if you've got that, then definitely keep doing it, keep challenging it.
Steve, first things first, thank you so much for joining us today. My question for you is, if you're an amateur when it comes to real estate, do we have to go to school, get educated, or are there other avenues?
So if you wanted to get licensed, then yes, you have to go to real estate school. A lot of my energy these days is more dedicated on buying houses from distressed homeowners than actually doing the real estate, put the sign in the yard, listen to MLS and so on. So if you're going to do that route of going through the MLS and the traditional real estate, which there are a lot more sellers that fit that model, then yes, you need to go to real estate school. However, for me and a lot of my peers, we have found it to be much more financially rewarding, as well as more soul fulfilling, to actually buy houses. And that might sound kind of crazy, because I know on buying houses, we have, on the outside, we look to be like vultures. No one is writing any glory stories about people that flip houses or, sources houses direct from distressed homeowners. But I will share with you, in all the transactions I've done, and we've done over 1,000 altogether, the people where we buy their houses and we get them out of a bad situation love us. The homeowners where we sell their house and they had to deal with an appraisal and inspection and mortgage and this and that, they don't really like us that much. Like, they just expected it to be easy. And because it's not, it won't, because you're dealing in a transaction with a bunch of human beings, and human beings are naturally crazy, right? That's just our natural state. So you deal with this transaction for 6 to 8 weeks, they don't like you. So it's not fulfilling. It works, right? But it's not fulfilling. Whereas helping, grandma of a situation where she's no longer dealing with a big house by herself, and, she's ready to move on with her life, and she's grateful, like they cry at the signing table, like it's really rewarding.
Thank you so much for that, Steve. Last question, because I know other people have questions. How do you find these houses? Is there a list that we can go to? Are they listed somewhere?
There are lists to pull. There's a few different options. There's PropStream for $99 a month. We don't really use that one. There's some other sources that are quite a bit more expensive. But we talk about all these different channels on our podcast, Real Estate Disruptors. But yeah, there's a multitude of ways, and the more success you have, the more expensive options you have, which makes life easier. So it's kind of a trade-off, but you can start with PropStream. It's like $99 a month.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Steve, so this is the question I have. I know I got into real estate through some people here in the Virginia area. And when I did, I invested so much just to realize that the leads I was getting for foreclosures was not accurate. So for some strange reason, I kind of stopped. And then somebody told me that, listen, you can just go to the courthouse and pull up that information and go after foreclosures. My question is, since you've been in the real estate market for a long time and you actually have done depressed homes and things like that, how do I approach the pre-foreclosure game if I wanted to?
I think you want to approach them as a human being, right? So I think first things first is the foreclosure is one of the toughest lists to work, because it's public data, there's more people targeting it, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you can separate yourself, that's how you win. And that's what the sales is. That's the sales training that we focus on so much. because there's two components, right, of every business. We're in the sales and marketing business, whether we're selling or marketing. So marketing is to find people, get them to raise their hands. Well, if you're in foreclosure, you didn't have to raise your hand. The county raised your hand for you. They told everybody that you are in financial despair, right? So that marketing is done. But now you have to separate yourself from everybody else. And so really, this is where sales comes in, right? And the way to separate yourself is really, again, kind of what I was saying earlier with Chad, is just really understand what's going on in your world. There's this idea of rapport as like, hey, did you see the game last night? Or I saw that car in your driveway. I've been thinking about getting that car. Can you tell me about that car? You're talking about sports, weather, cars, whatever. And that's not real rapport. That's like superficial rapport, right? So real rapport is really digging into what is going on in your world. What got you into this situation? There's a lot of sales training out there that says you got to find pain, right? But they don't tell you how to find pain. And so what we teach people to do is find pain like a doctor would. So if you came to my office as a doctor, right, it's like, Steve, I got some back pain. I say, well, good news. I have a cancellation this afternoon. We're going to operate later on today. You'll be like, well, hang on here, right? Like, what are you talking about? But if I said, oh, you've got some back pain, tell me more about it. How long has it been going on? What have you tried to do about it? Is it causing anything? Is it hurt anything? Is it causing you to take time away from work? Is it causing you to take time away from your family? How does that feel? This and that, how painful is it? What, have you tried anything else? Like, I'm asking all these questions in a diagnostic question, but after I've diagnosed you, right, now you feel like I understand what's going on in your world, and I've earned the right to prescribe, right? And that's the same thing with a homeowner. If you could just figure out the same questions: what got you into foreclosure? What caused it? How long has that been going on? What have you tried to do about it? Who else knows about it? What else have you tried? Right? We're asking all the same questions a doctor would, but when we ask these questions, now you as a homeowner feel understood, right? A lot of people want to feel seen, feel understood, feel appreciated. And if you can demonstrate that by asking the right questions, then at this point you earn the right to earn their business. So again, it's the sales component to separate yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, so I am starting out with, I'm at a W-2 job right now, but I'm going to be selling my 4-year-long flip that I've been trying to get through and coming up with $80,000 for more real estate. With you guys having experience, do I need the W-2 job or for the 2 years on financing, or can I go another way about that?
If you have a W-2 job now, and how long have you had 1099 income or self-employment income?
I haven't had self-employment income to show off yet.
Then yeah, you need to keep your job if you're looking to buy properties through financing. Now, you don't need to finance it, right? With a regular mortgage, you can go through a hard money lender, private money lender, or some other options. But if you were to look to get a loan through conventional means, then yes, you do need your W-2. So one thing I wish I knew when I first started, before I quit my job, I wish I would have gotten lines of credit, because once you quit your job, you're no longer bankable. Banks will not lend you money. So if you're thinking about quitting your job, go get approved for all sorts of lines of credit.
So there would be another way per se to go get a fourplex or higher. If
there's hard money loans out there that you can go with, or private money loans.
Okay.
The rates are quite a bit more expensive, right? Like, I don't want you to think that it's easy or it's cheap.
I know it's not easy or cheap, but I just wanted to know if there was another way, or if I needed to hold on to this for another few months while I go get another fourplex and then start on my self-employment journey.
Awesome.
Yeah. I just want to know, what were your greatest weaknesses and how did you overcome that and motivate yourself to get to where you are?
So my greatest weakness actually was, funny enough, was sales. Again, it's because, from the engineering background. So um, I was good at a good amount of different things, right? Like I'm the kind of person that you generally trust very quickly because, I'm always competent. Anything I do, I want to do with high degree of quality and excellence. So competence and caring were never challenges for me. I would say the two greatest challenge I had, again, I mentioned sales earlier. The other one I would probably say is follow through. As an entrepreneur, we all suffer through shiny object syndrome. And so like, I'll start this and this is really cool. And then before this is done, I'm like, oh, I'm off to start something else. Okay. And before that's done, I'm off to start something else. So what I learned was you can start as many other things as you want, as long as you hire the right people to keep the other ones going. Right. So that was what I was doing wrong, was I would start something new without finishing the other thing. Now I know I'm not allowed to start anything else until I hire somebody to finish the other thing. So follow through, I would say I was pretty bad at, and that's just as a result of, I don't know. I don't like to sit still. I'm always wanting to do something. And so that is not conducive to follow through.
Well, Steve, I got another question for you. With the way the world is crazy, what do you think your projection is from your own experience for real estate going into the future from here on? Has there been a change to it with all the crazy stuff?
I think it's just going to keep going up like crazy. Not for any good reasons. I think we got some massive inflationary issues. We have some massive supply issues, which is a result of the last crash where all the builders went out of business. So in America, I think we're short of about 4 million houses, right, nationwide. So I don't see it going down anytime in the near future, unless something catastrophic happens with the mortgages or financing. But all in all, I just see nothing but gigantic inflationary pressures, as well as lack of supply. I don't see it going down for the next year or two. And I remember a couple of years ago, someone was saying that. I was like, you guys are crazy. But I don't think anyone saw this coming. I don't think anyone saw with COVID, like it freaked a lot of people out, but we didn't see how the world would respond. And the way to respond apparently is to print money. So I just don't see anything beyond markets going up, just because there's just too much money out there.
Because obviously real estate's always been one, like, I'm an avid fan of Robert Kiyosaki as well. I've read pretty much most of his books. And, real estate's always been one of those, very solid investments for long-term strategies. I mean, you can go and play on the stock market and stuff like that, but even like old Grant Cardone likes to say, I like to invest in something I can physically touch. So I've always kept that mentality and had that for the last 20 odd years. But it's funny, with the way things are, you hear all these little rumors and scares and stuff like that. I was always wondering, obviously have an opportunity right here, right now, to ask someone that's actually in the game, what the longevity look like is for real estate. Because obviously,
another thing I'll add too, because I was just mentioning a moment ago, right? They're printing more money than they've ever had before, right? I think they were saying like 40% of the money that we have in circulation was printed in like the last 18 months. Something crazy, right? Yeah. So what I want everyone to think about is there's more money than ever before out there at the same time. Given enough time, it will all pull to the same 5% of people, right? Just think about that. So there's two different skill sets here. Right now we're talking about sales, right? And sales is active income. It's working for money. But another skill that not very many other people talk about, because it's not sexy or appealing, is how to keep the money. So there's the earning the money, and then there's everything else you need to learn to make sure that you keep the money. And when I say keep the money, I'm not talking about like just spending less or budgeting. I'm talking about like P&Ls, balance sheets, financial projections, tax saving strategies. There's a whole bunch of other different things that go behind keeping the money. And so you can make all the money in the world, but if you don't have the discipline and skills to keep the money, you're gonna be in the same exact spot in 5 years. Trust me, I know, because that was the first 9 years of my career. I was making a lot of money, and I just kept asking myself, where the hell is it? So it's a whole different skill.
No, definitely. No, it's good to know. I mean, I've just recently bought my own house. Some of our team, like Brenda and Jelani, know of keeping them up in the update. But my partner was she was doing her own little bit of research, and because of all this crazy stuff going on, the market especially in WA or West Australia, it's actually starting to go back up. And it's quite nice. It's a nice feeling now when those markets start to go upwards, not downwards, and you haven't really done anything much with it. But no, it's good. Have you ever ventured out into real estate sort of industries outside of the US, or have you only just focused basically on what's there?
Only in the US. We're in Arizona and we're in Oklahoma. I've had my friend Haim, who's in Israel, so there's a lot of Israelis that wholesale and flip in the United States. So I've had a chance to talk to them on something just like this. But no, I've never had the courage to venture outside of the United States. We have different laws, right? And the laws we have here are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Simple might not be the right word, but is what I'm accustomed to. And it's really difficult going to different states. I can't imagine going to different countries.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people that educate real estate over here in Australia, and not very many people turn around and say, "Oh, you should go and invest in the US or go and invest over in Europe or something like that."
One of my best clients was actually from Australia. I want to say Melbourne. He bought a bunch of properties because this is when the Australian dollar was really strong, American dollar was really weak.
Yeah.
So he was banking.
Oh yeah,
on the US.
It's one of the strategies always here. Hang out till the US dollar starts to fall. Wait till the Aussie dollar goes up a little bit, and layers up, and then buy out as much as you can. Then just hold on for your life.
Yeah.
Fernando, I believe you got a question, mate.
Yes, I do. So I saw an ad that really, really struck my interest about getting, and it was actually with Grant Cardone. And then I saw another ad from a different agency or source, but about investing in apartments. So what's your take on that, Chad, and the cash flow that creates? And also suppose from what I heard is that banks will give loans with small down payments when it comes to apartments because they know of the potential cash flow that it generates.
I would disagree with that last part. That they're okay with less down payments. I think we're actively in the market of buying one right now, and I think they're looking for like 20 or 30% down, 25-30% down. So no, I don't think the low down payment part. There's crowdfunding options right now that's becoming popular, but I would stay away from Grant Cardone. I don't think he's a bad human being. I've just heard from other peers that invest in multifamily that his options are, there's a premium for doing business with Grant Cardone that may not be a good ROI. I'll put it that way. So you can invest in other people in apartments without spending as much or have a better ROI. But yeah, I think apartments are great, but if you're planning on getting into it with not too much money, I think it's going to be a challenge.
Yes. So, okay, I have two questions, but the first one is, you mentioned that if you're making more money than you're spending, then you'll never have to work a day in your life. So what is your favorite form of passive income?
Right now, my favorite form of passive income is probably the title company. So where are you?
I'm in North Carolina.
North Carolina. Are you guys an attorney state or a title state?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so you guys are familiar, like if you go to McDonald's, right, and you buy a hamburger, they make like a nickel, right? But they make like the whole thing on the fries and Coke. Or if you go to like a Best Buy and you buy a refrigerator, they don't make any money on the refrigerator, but they make all the money on the insurance, right? And so for us, I own a title insurance company, and I have a partnership in mortgages. So anytime someone buys or sells a house through our brokerage, I don't make a ton of money on the brokerage side, but I make a good amount on the title side and the mortgage side. So when I say the title insurance is my favorite passive income, because I don't have to do anything, right? All the work is done in driving real estate transactions And once I have the real estate transactions, I make extra money on the title insurance side, and I don't have to do any work.
But don't you make money on the mortgage, like on the interest of the mortgage?
No, our share from that is transactional. It's not permanent. So when they get the loan, they get paid a small piece on the loan, but not on the lifetime of the loan.
So do you have any like passive income that maybe someone that doesn't have a whole title company could get into?
So the other thing is we have rental properties, right? So we have 3 rental properties, 2 in the Phoenix market and 1 in Oklahoma City. We bought one, I want to say in 2009. That's probably when we bought it. And we bought it for like 120,000, and it's worth probably somewhere in the high 2s. And when we bought it, you know, we had a tenant, and she paid what she paid in the duration of the time she was in there, because she was in there for 10 years. She was paying about $1,000 a month. Over the course of 10 years, she paid off our entire mortgage.
Wow.
Right. So we have this property that's free and clear. And that is because we had an amazing tenant. Like, she literally never complained about anything. And she paid not only on time, but early sometimes. Right.
Nice.
That's not normal. So that was a blessing for sure. But yeah, we had that. So I would say, I mean, that's my favorite passive income is definitely rentals. And then, you know, you get to depreciate, which reduces your taxes and so on.
Well, my second question is like, okay, so I'm a real estate agent. I'm not very active with it right now because I'm doing this, but I guess I've been thinking that if I could like recruit other people, the agency that I'm with is like a pyramid scheme. You know, if
EXP?
the people under me are making sales, I get commission on that.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say the best way to like market or find my team would be? Like, I know you obviously have quite the team with all of these businesses. How did you find your team?
So if I were to start over today, right, brand new, I had no experience, I would go really hard on social media and document everything. This is what something Gary Vaynerchuk talks about a lot. There's a book he wrote recently, Crushing It. I want to say he released like 2-3 years ago. But literally, you don't have to be the best realtor. You just need to be a realtor that's talking about what you're doing, and that will attract people. So right now, if I need to hire, I just post it on my Instagram story. Hey, we're hiring for this. And we get applicants, right? It's not quite as effective as Indeed, but it's pretty close because of our following. People are sold on us, right? Like when I go to Indeed, this is a cold lead. They don't know who we are. And there's this dance for recruiting and so on. But when we post on social media, we're hiring, people are pretty excited to work with us. So I think that to answer your question, not necessarily today, but if you start today, in a year and a half or 2 years, you should have the following that can make that a lucrative business.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, and then invest as much as you can in the personal development. I haven't talked about this as much, but I mean, I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in my own personal development. I am who I am because of my coaches, right? Like I stand on the shoulders of giants.
Who?
I love Darren Hardy. He's definitely my go-to guy. Jim Rohn, he's dead, but he was Darren Hardy's mentor, right? So he has some great stuff. And then since I got licensed in 2007, I would say probably 75 to 90% of my time, I'm in the car, I'm listening to an audiobook.
Wow.
Right. So there are times where you're tired and you listen to music, but for the most part, I am listening to something that's making me better at my role.
Quick, Steve, you mentioned before you quit your job, you need to have line of credit. How many do you think should we have? And does that have to be business or personal?
So you can get a personal line of credit and you get a business line of credit. Your business line of credit won't be that big. I think I was able to get 10,000 because my business was not established yet. I think I was able to get approved for 10,000. But if I had gone for a personal line of credit, I could have gotten quite a bit more. Hard to say exactly how much you want to get. I did have a line of credit on my house, which was fortunate. So I had an $85,000 line of credit on my house, which eventually maxed out because I was really bad at my job in the beginning. But I had that right behind, available. So like, I want to say when I quit my job, I had like $14,000 in the bank in savings, which depending on your situation might sound like a lot, might sound like very little, but that's what I had. But it went pretty quick because, again, I was really bad when I started. So I was able to blow through that because it wasn't just like living expenses, it was also like marketing expenses. Like you don't know what's effective marketing, what's not. So you try everything and none of them work. So you blow through your savings, right? And then whatever. So I ended up maxing out my line of credit on my personal residence, but I didn't get any lines of credit that were unsecured for my own name. Everything I had was through my house. So if you were to go look up unsecured lines of credit, that's what I would check out.
Nice. I've been feeding in on everything you're saying. It's crazy. It's crazy cool. I got just one question, and this question I know applies to everybody that is in the Mike Barron class, because we are hoping we can make 50K at the end of the day, 120K a month. This is like the dream. If I can pull it off, I'll pull it off. So the question I have is, are you there?
Here.
Yes. The question I have is, how do you make money and keep money? Because taxes come and shoot everything out the water. Everything goes out of your hands. Seems like it can't stay in your hand because somebody is waiting to get everything from you. How do you really maximize how much you do? That's the question.
So there's two different things. There's a book by Keith Cunningham, The Ultimate Blueprint for an Insanely Successful Business, where he talks a lot about balance sheets and P&Ls. And again, not fun stuff, but the part where it's an important discipline. Another one was, I want to say Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. And he talks about, tax strategies and so on. Like that's the reason why I'm buying more real estate. It's not because of the cash flow. I actually don't care about the cash flow. I just need to reduce my taxable income. That's what someone was asking earlier about apartments. I'm investing in apartments, not because I want to own apartments. I'm investing in apartments because I can reduce my taxable income, right? Mm-hmm. That's the only reason why I'm doing it. It's not the best reason, but that's the situation I'm in right now. Is the less money I give to Uncle Sam, the more wealth I'll be able to pass on to my family in the future.
So it's more asset based. The way you save the money is through assets, pretty much.
It's through assets to reduce the tax liability, but also it's the knowing your profits and losses, understanding your expenses, understanding your balance sheets, and it's a whole different animal. Understanding your balance sheets, it's so counterintuitive. It's not natural, right? It took a lot of time, but I'll share with you. When COVID struck, a lot of my peers were freaking out, and they went and they cut a lot of expenses. I literally changed nothing when COVID struck. If anything, I spent more on marketing. Why? Because I already had clarity on my finances. I already knew what my expenses were. I knew how much was going out every month, right? I already canceled all the crappy subscriptions. So I knew what my expenses were. So it wasn't an issue when COVID struck. Whereas most of my peers were kind of like freaking out, firing people and stuff. I'm proud to say I did not let a single person go during COVID, right? I'm really proud of that.
Guys, what is up? It's your boy Mike Barron. Thank you for checking out the channel. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you don't, I'm gonna come through this computer screen and close you up my damn self. Let's go. I'll see you at the top.